Hi, it's Jane. Now, I did go to Hobby Lobby, and closest thing that I could find was this. It's not really close. They had something called Hot Rose that, my lord, was awful looking. Was not even close to this. I saw someone that had just come from, that I know, that had just come from Michael's. So I had asked her if she saw any yarn that was close to that color there at Michael's while she was there. Now, she was laughing because she said, that's the color I'm looking for. And no, they had nothing. She said this one, even though it's a tonal, I think it's a stone, one of their stone wash. It's called Berry Stonewash. Berry Stonewash. She said that is closest that she has seen, and that's what she was going to use for her project. She said they were out of a lot of the loops and threads because she had seen online there was one that was close, loops and threads, and she thought maybe she could use it. But she said basically they just didn't have a whole lot to choose from. So I'm going to use that and hope for the best with these kiddos, that they'll enjoy it and think it's fairly close to what they were asking for. I am starting another hat if I can get the yarn up here and find it. This hat that I'm working on starts with purple. I don't think I have pink here near me. I'll find pink when I get ready to do that. But anyway, so that's what I'm going to go with, and that's the best I can do. Honestly, that is the best I can do. So I'm hoping that these young ladies aren't too upset with that color choice and that they enjoy it. And I had laughed. I said, maybe we should ask the kindergarten teachers to only give them the 8-pack to color with. So, I don't know. You know, it's nice to be able to do what the kids want, but sometimes you just can't meet the expectations. So, kind of stuck there, just doing the best I can. Kind of curious if you had heard the news that the Congress has made their decision and voted yes to open up the government. Of course, now it has to go back to the House to be approved. So we'll see what happens. I don't know if you saw Bernie Sanders going on whining, about the healthcare cost and blah, 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 and all this. I'm going to insert a picture here. That's what I think about it, Bernie. When you've made that kind of money from donations from the healthcare and pharmaceutical companies, you got no right to be talking about it. We do have a lot of major countries in this world that have better healthcare systems than ours, and some that are just as bad. So, and most of them pay 60 to 65% of their income to go for their health care. And I got a feeling there's a whole bunch of Americans that wouldn't do that. They wouldn't pay that. They're not willing. I think I've already got too many. Let me count. Yep, I do. That's a false stitch I was trying to go into. So, yeah, it's just, one of those things that we have to decide whether we're willing to pay more money for better health care. And my biggest thing is there should be limits on what the hospital is able to charge for certain things, as well as what the insurance, they have to pay out a certain amount, period, instead of lowballing it the way they do. Because I don't know if you've ever looked at the things that you get back when let's say you've had a minor surgery, carpal tunnel surgery, in the office, $22,000. The health care, my insurance paid $1,200, and I had nothing but a $35 copay. Why are they allowed to charge $22,000 for that? It just makes you wonder, I know when I had my neck surgery, the amount that was charged for it and what they actually paid out, a huge difference. And then we had nothing additional to pay. To me, that says that, one, they are overcharging. Absolutely overcharging. I know the bills that I saw from Thomas's hospitalization, yeah, overcharging. Especially when I sat next to someone who was paying cash for all of their treatment and was told what they were paying cash. I heard someone talk about the insurance company from the time of its inception has been a racket. And I don't doubt that a bit. It's also been a bit of a gamble. You pay in year after year after year, and the gamble for both you and the insurance company is that you will never use the money that you paid in. They will never have to pay out on that. So anyway, I've been seeing more and more responses to this Nicole that was calling out churches to help with their imaginary baby, to feed the baby by giving her a can of formula. I have a lot of things around that bother me. First of all, she's not a Christian. What she is doing is disingenuous because she is quite frankly lying to these people when she calls her churches asking for monetary help. And she discounts the idea that many of these churches probably get 20 to 50 calls a day for financial help of some kind. They're not going to be able to give to everyone. How are they going to fund that? And a lot of people say, well, churches are wealthy. They don't have to pay taxes. That's not absolutely true. There are certain things that they do not have to pay taxes on. But yes, they do pay real estate taxes, a lot of other things. And then there's the notion that these churches all have pantries. Not every church has a pantry. In fact, I believe there are certain requirements that you have to meet to be able to have a pantry in your church. And you have to follow a strict guideline for having that. With the food, where the food's kept, how it's kept, temperatures, you name it, a whole lot of stuff like that. And I think the idea of calling and talking to a secretary at the church who may or may not have any idea if there are funds available or if there's a pantry available there in the church, because maybe they're new or maybe they're just filling in for somebody who's sick. We've had that at my church, during the mama-to-be's maternity leave. We had someone filling in. She had to learn a lot about the resources of the church, where to turn people to when they call for need, what to ask them, and the information she needed to get in order to transfer that all to the right people, to get the people help if they could, or point them in another direction. And my question is, what is she doing to help her fellow neighbors? She complains about, I saw a video where she was complaining about trying to help some people find housing. They're homeless, they don't have coats, they don't have this, they don't have that, and trying to find those things for them, and she's just coming up against a brick wall. And I know that there are many places that have Salvation Armies available, that most times Salvation Army will meet a lot of those needs, or they will try to. But this expectation that churches are going to find you a home, a place to stay, help you with the rent, utilities, whatnot, to get you on your feet, is a little over the top. Churches are made of people who expect their leaders of the church to use their tithes and their money wisely. That's why yearly everyone has usually what they call a business meeting. It's the business of the church. They talk about salaries for everybody. They talk about, cuts that they need to make, if any. They look at windfalls and how you can use that. You're looking at assets and liabilities, and funding missions and all the other things that they fund throughout the year. That do help the community in many respects, or community at large. But I'll be honest, my church does not have a pantry at all. Now, they would probably refer her to a pregnancy resource center who could probably help her. If not, if they had the funds available, they would most likely make sure that she got some baby formula if she was truly in need. I do know that if she walked into that church any given time when there are a lot of mama bears there with their babies, and she made that statement that their baby hadn't been fed and needed food, they would divvy up their formula with her so that she had some baby formula to take with her. I'm even going to guess maybe there would be some nursing mothers who would offer to nurse that baby to get her calmed down while they're finding the resources for her. They might even pull together and give her the money needed for the formula. And I saw somewhere where someone said, well, it's only, $15 or $17. Well, the formula she stated is one of the higher end ones. And it runs about $25 per can. They may or may not have those funds available. We've seen a lot of bad things happen to a lot of churches, robberies, break-ins, people attempting to destroy, burn the churches, those kind of things. So I don't imagine they keep cash in the church. I just don't. But sometimes being able to step up and help someone is a good thing. And then other times you need to determine whether it's the right thing to do or not. I have an empty bedroom here. I was talking with the benevolent fund team about that if there was someone that needed a place to stay, they could probably use the bedroom. I don't have bedroom furniture there, so if you wanted to do that, then we need to look at possibly getting beds in there or whatnot, which many times church members have bedroom suits they were thinking of getting rid of, and they put them up on our community board anyway. So if I did see one of those, then I would take that opportunity to get it. But then the team made me aware of that, yes, they'll consider that, but because I am alone, they also want to make sure that they vet the person or persons who might possibly come into my home to stay, which is a good thing, You just don't open wildly and blindly to people, not knowing the circumstances and ignoring your own safety either. So, yeah, it just kind of floors me. The expectations that some folks have. All right. I don't have pink with me right now, so I'm going to pause you and go find a pink, and I will be back in just a second. And I know a lot of people are making a stink about some of the responses that some of the churches have had, PR. There's always room for everybody to do better. But I think we also need to remember, church building is not the church. It's the people that are in the church that make the church. And the thing that I'm seeing that is sad is there have been a lot of people who simply have started refusing to go to church because of the response to that social experiment. And my question is, why are you not calling out the leaders of that church to do better? To see why they might possibly have not helped this young lady. What were the circumstances around that? That would be my question. And I would want my church to answer before I would walk away from it. And it also tells me that there are a lot of people that in that church who've chosen to walk away might possibly be just, I'm going to check off the box I went to church type of person. And because that church wouldn't help somebody, I'm out of there. Hope I'm wrong about that, but I do know there are a lot of people that are like that. So, which is kind of sad. But I know there have been times I've been approached by people on the street, asked if I could give them some money or something, and I just didn't have money to give them. And I had said, no, I'm sorry, I can't. I was nickel and diming it myself. But many times I have, snacks or something in my car. So I would often offer that. I know that's nothing compared to what they're looking for, but it's a little bit of help. So yeah, those kind of things. In some ways, it is good that she has done this, but in other ways, it is bad what she has done. And I have seen quite a few other TikTokers creating their own little social experiments, calling different churches to, see if they could trick them into helping. Now, there was one of the church's response was they had told her that that they go through Helping Hands for help, and she had made the statement, well, Helping Hands said they can't help, and that the person that was at the church building knew that she was lying automatically because Helping Hands was closed. Now, my question is, was it closed for good? As in it's no longer a charity helping? So they knew that she hadn't tried calling there? I don't know. That's what I would question. My other thing is, do they automatically have a maybe a number that they give you a different number in case of emergency? Or maybe they check messages. Leave a message. We check messages every couple of hours. I don't know. I've never heard of Helping Hands. So those are some of the questions I have around that whole thing. But this, I have no doubt that her first instinct for this was in hopes that it would go viral. I do know that there are a lot of churches, that stepped up, said they would help. Where could they meet her? Those kind of things. And she's not posted those videos. She is generally posting most of the ones that are refusing to help or can't help. And I know today she's going live to call them live. And I'm not sure that's a good idea. Because quite honestly, I think that opens her up for a lawsuit. Might be wrong. I think it might possibly. But, yeah, we all need to do better. And of course, there are some that can give and don't give, ever. And that's on them. You know, and I always find it funny how people think because it's a mega church that they don't have a mortgage that they have to pay. They don't have utilities and all the other things they have to pay for. Repairs this area, that area. So, and I would imagine you think your heating bill's high. Pretty sure churches is pretty high. No matter how big or small they are. Okay, government has ended their shutdown, which hopefully they'll get things taken care of and start getting all those backlogs fixed. So all those traffic controllers can stop DoorDash and Uber in order to put groceries on their table, as well as working their normal shifts. And then maybe some of those flights will be able to be opened back up again. Just in time for Thanksgiving flying. Do you guys have any special plans for Thanksgiving? You staying home? Family coming to you? You going to family? Do you have any traditions that you do for Thanksgiving? My family, we always did a craft after Thanksgiving. We did a craft as a family. And generally it was doing something around t-shirts or sweatshirts or, you know, sometimes we did some artwork, just fun stuff like that. Coloring poinsettias and angel babies and Christmas scenes, Christmas trees to put up around the house on the walls. So my family, pretty much we carried that through and continued to do that. Did that with my kids when they were little. We always had some kind of craft to do or planned what our Christmas adventure was going to be. And by Christmas adventure, what I mean is we would take a country each year and learn about their customs around Christmas. Didn't necessarily have to be Christmas, but that time of year, what their customs were. Foods that they ate, and decorations and the whole 9 yards, and then we would try to recreate it at home. Yeah. Of course, the year that I was pregnant with my youngest is the year we decided to do Mexico. And the big thing is tamales. So I'm out to here making tamales, pregnant, not happy about it. Because the kids were little enough, they could put the masa down and they could put the meat on it and help roll. But when it came to actually cooking the tamales, that was something Mama had to do, they couldn't do. So I would do that. And of course, once you get through the batch, you'd put that down on a plate for it to cool so you could put it in the refrigerator in hopes that you would have it for dinner that night. Time you turn around, you'd see that plate full that you had made were gone. And they weren't in the refrigerator and you were wondering what happened. They ate it. But we had a lot of fun doing those kind of things each year, choosing the different countries and learning customs and songs and different things around that. Of course, my kids thought the only song that was sung in Mexico at Christmas was Feliz Navidad. It wasn't, but it was cute for them to think that that's exactly what they would be singing, only for Christmas. I think traditions are important. But then also it doesn't hurt to change things up every now and then, right? All right, guys, I am going to let you go for now. Do have some things that I need to get done. So I will see you again soon. And in the meantime, everybody have a blessed day and try to do something kind for somebody else today.